Hello, welcome to the Level 3 Leveled Classwork tutorial. Now that you've finished Level 1, gathering that information from the textbook and YouTube and credible websites, Level 2, organizing that information, more often than not in a graphic organizer. You've taken these disparate items and you've created a one studyable sheet that you can get into your brain. Now it's time to demonstrate mastery of this assignment. Now it's time to use your knowledge you've gathered and organized, and now it's time to apply. So this is the highest level assignment. Congratulations, you've made it. So there are many different types of level 3. These are projects. There are many projects. Think of it that way. They aren't terribly difficult, but they are going to require you to finish level 1 and level 2 first so that you can gather that information, organize it, and now you're ready to apply it. So let me talk about some of the ones that we're going to do every week, some that are available every week, almost every week. The first one is the case study. You are taking your information that you've gathered and organized, your understanding of this system, of the integumentary system, of the lymphatic system, of whatever, that type of anatomy or physiology we're learning that week. And you're using it to read a case study as if you were a medical professional. Now it's time to practice being a medical professional. You have gathered this information. You are going to be given all kinds of things. This is what they're going to look like more often than not. You're going to read a little story, a little blurb about a patient or a situation. You're going to get data from other doctors, or you're going to request data as a doctor. You're pretending to be a doctor, and you are going to diagnose your patient. You're going to recommend treatments. You're going to solve medical mysteries. You're going to do medicine. You're going to practice medicine, or you're going to practice forensics. You're going to practice being a medical professional, whatever one the case study is making you pretend to be. A lot of times it's like medical researchers as well. And the best part about level 3s, you can collaborate on this case study. You do not have to do it by yourself. You can collaborate. In fact, I recommend it because a lot of times it's a lot of work. You can do it by yourself if you'd like, but why not work together? Why not use the internet, your minds? Why don't you collaborate using Google Docs? Why don't you collaborate creating a FaceTime message with your group? You can work in groups of 2 to 3 people. You could also work by yourself, but collaborate to answer these questions, to read these articles and answer the questions as if you are a medical professional. Now, how do you collaborate? How do you demonstrate your collaboration? You create a Google Doc and you construct it this way. So these two students have created a Google Doc to answer the questions for the example case study that I've given you right here. This isn't all of the questions, and I've blacked out their names. So you can see that it's by purple and by green. So purple and green worked together to create this document. They made it, shareable with each other, and then they used that shared document and they submitted that shared document on Google Classroom. That's how you do it. Other assignments you've been able to complete on paper, take a picture and upload it. These are strictly digital. You are not writing this down. You're not printing it off. You are strictly turning in case studies via Google Docs on Google Classroom. And it needs to be the live document. It needs to be the one that you've edited. As you can see, purple and green have edited it as they went along. And I can see where they did it. Where purple made edits, I can see it in purple. Where green made edits, I can see it in green. And I can see who did what as part of the assignment. It's not always, you do 2 and 3, I do 4 and 5. That is perfectly fine. However you divide the work is fine with me. It could be you come back and check it for this. You come back with a source. You add to it. You read over it. That's fine. But I need to see equivalent work. I need to see that purple and green have done what I deem and they deem equivalent. Now, someone may be more verbose than the other person. Someone may be better at writing than the other person. That's fine. I'm not comparing you that way. I'm just saying purple needs to have equal edits uh, as green. Purple and green need to have equal edits, and I need to be able to see them. I like to say, if I don't see your edits, you don't see the credit. So if it's turned in and only one person has edited this document, that person gets credit. No other group members do. That is how you collaborate and demonstrate your collaboration. If I see that you've collaborated, I can give everyone equal credit for this assignment. If I don't, I can't, and I will just give that person a credit, and that's how it's got to go. So make sure that you're turning it in with Google Docs and make sure that I can see that everyone has contributed equally to this assignment. Now, another one that I enjoy, the podcast storyboard. So every week, I will give you at least one episode of this podcast, Sawbones, a marital tour of misguided medicine. It is Dr. Sydney McElroy and her husband, Justin McElroy. They create this podcast, and it's been going on for years, and it's currently live. So there's new episodes added every week where they go through a topic and they talk about what we used to do as far back in recorded history, how we used to treat that ailment, how we used to use that medicine, this type of medical technology. Sometimes they'll outline a famous doctor's works. A lot of times it's humorous. A lot of times it's educational. The ones I've picked are both. So you'll enjoy listening to this podcast. So while you're listening to this podcast, normally they're around 35, 40 minutes with a 5-minute ad break in the middle. So really you're only listening to 30 minutes of actual material. You're going to create a storyboard. Now this is an example of a storyboard that a student last year created. What you're doing is you're looking for quotes. You're looking for a memorable quote throughout the podcast. So we're talking maybe a quote every 5 minutes, a quote every main idea. You are creating a story of this podcast as if you were going to animate it. Imagine that. Imagine you're listening to this podcast, which is purely an audible medium, and you're going to make it a visual medium. You've seen this on YouTube. You've seen this on TikTok where people will take audio clips of anything and they'll create their own. They'll film themselves doing it, or they'll create their own animation, or they'll literally draw and just take a picture and like time lapse an animation. Imagine you're doing that. That's what the podcast storyboard is. And just like this student has done, she's taken the quote, using leeches to get rid of some blood. Oops, I messed that up. Can prove youthfulness and beauty and beautiful. It's a quote that they've used. I messed up their paper with removing the staple, but you get it. They've taken that quote and now they are illustrating it as if they were going to film it or animate it. Not one little sketch like your tip chart, not a diagram like graphic organizers. This is a storyboard. If you were giving this to somebody, now they'd know what to animate or film. If it's just one little squiggle, that's not a storyboard. This is what you're going for. You're getting quotes and you are animating those quotes. Now you don't have to animate it. You are just creating a storyboard as if you are going to animate it. Think of it that way. You're preparing for a much more difficult task by completing this task, which isn't easy, but you are taking quotes from this podcast and you are illustrating with, doesn't necessarily have to be colored, but coloring things makes it easier to differentiate. And you're illustrating that quote. All right, now the life-size diagram. This is a life-size diagram that has a number of systems on it. You're going to start yours off with just the body cavities, like this posterior view over here. So I'm going to give you a piece of butcher paper as tall as you are as long as you are tall. You're going to trace yourself on that piece of butcher paper, both posterior behind and anterior in front, and you are going to add on to it when I ask. So the first one will be body cavities. Then we'll fill those cavities. We'll trace anatomical regions. Then we'll put organ systems in those cavities. So when we do the cardiovascular system, you're going to draw the heart and some major veins and arteries. When we do the skeletal system, you're going to draw the bones. You're going to draw them and label them life size. You can't tell on this picture, but this is a life size. This person laid down in anatomical position and someone traced them, and they are filling that up as the school year progresses. So as you go, you'll add more and more and more and more systems. So the way they thought to solve that problem was to create layers. So these are flaps you could peel off, or structures that are inside that you can't see. They've drawn over here and kind of shown where they are. But that is a life-size diagram. It is a diagram, but you're doing it literally life-size. So it is important that your organs are to scale. So your kidneys should be the size of your kidney, and they should be where your kidneys are. Your heart on your life-size diagram should be the size of your heart, and it should be where your heart is. Your bones should be where your bones are. It is life size. You're drawing them and you're labeling them. Some organ systems, this is a very easy assignment. Some organ systems, this isn't. But the assignment will follow you every section of this year. So you'll start it week 1 and you'll end it at the end of the school year, and it'll be the same piece of paper. It'll be the same assignment.